Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast presented by Game Day Tailgate Experience. Elevate your tailgate when the Steelers travel to Jacksonville on November 18th to take on the Jaguars with a 5-hour, yes, I got that wrong on the last episode, 5-hour, not a 4-hour, 5-hour pre-game tailgate party. More details on that later in the show, including a discount code for our listeners. I haven't even said my name yet. My name is Joe Kuzma. I'm one half of the team here that hopes to make the final 53. And no, they do not cut down to 75. They changed that last year. So me and my co-host, Brian E. Roach, can survive an extra 2 weeks of preseason football. At this point, we may have to survive based on some of the things that we saw tonight with the Eagles and the Steelers. Brian, what's going on, my friend?
Well, you know, I was very excited earlier today because it was football. It was football night in America, or at least in Philadelphia and in Pittsburgh and pretty much everywhere else. But
everywhere else.
Then I watched the game, and
let me tell you,
I
was geeked up. I was excited. I must have pulled everything. Not that I really had to dig for it, but I had to pull all of my Steelers stuff out. I had a Steelers shirt on. I had a Steelers jersey. I went with Watt today. I knew he wasn't going to play, but I didn't have anybody that was going to play in a black uniform because I'm still, I don't know, it's preseason. I don't care if they win or lose, but I'm still superstitious. I don't want injuries or anything, so I got to go with the color. I knew they were wearing black. I follow these things. I can't wear the GOAT's jersey anymore because he signed it. So, you know what? We're going to get that. Hold on. I can't wait to say it, but I will wait to say it. So I had Steelers shorts. I had Steelers socks. My kid got them for me. They're these Antonio Brown socks. They're like the things, probably Celedonia probably wears these things.
Yes.
Z.E. Flash, if you follow him on Twitter, folks. He's our lit guy. He's Mr. GQ of the SCU. And and the new shoes, the ones I got at the Sears before they went out of business when you were there with me in Pittsburgh, the canvas ones. I finally wore them. First time I wore them, sprayed them down with the nice shoe stuff. I think people looked at me like I was like insane. But if you don't like preseason football, if you're not happy that football's back, shut off the show, get out of here, because we've got preseason football to talk about.
That's right. Yeah. And it was preseason football. And
it doesn't mean it's good to talk about, but we have something to talk about finally.
It was, I wasn't quite as geeked out about it as you were today. But I did wear much of my Steelers gear as well. And consorted heavily with many of the Steelers fans that I know up at the office. And, because they were all Steelers fans up there in New York today because, of course, they were playing the Eagles and they hate the Eagles. So
that's great. Hey, so now I got the redactions out of the way and I corrected both the 5-hour party and I forgot about that they don't cut to the 75. So we're going to get to see a lot of these guys again in the several weeks of football.
Yes, we are.
For better or worse. Let's start with that better or worse. I think the most exciting thing that came out of this was there was a lot. The Steelers scored 31 points. I mean, in a preseason game. This is exciting. They won. They beat the defending Super Bowl champions, which I'm totally trolling everybody with the title of this episode, but I sure hope they get my preseason sarcasm because I'm just warming up. We're in training camp here. It's just going to get better as the season goes on and we get into championship level caliber. You could tell that Brian and myself usually don't do things late at night or on very little sleep. These games are going to keep us up pretty late. I was waiting for something to happen towards toward the end, I was just like, you know what, halftime, let's get together, let's record. Who cares what Mason Rudolph does? He's not going to do anything exciting, is he? Well, he might. I mean, Landry Jones did some exciting things. Josh Dobbs did some exciting things. So it's like, yeah. Aside from the fact that would be totally irresponsible and we don't do that type of thing. But I had the fleeting thought of just saying, let's just skip the second half, as though I was there in attendance and I was like, yeah, okay, I got to be up in the morning and do all kinds of things. It's a weeknight. I'm an old guy. I need my rest, et cetera, et cetera. But there is a quarterback battle in camp. There may be only 3 spots on the roster. We know Ben Roethlisberger's got one of those. We'll talk about Mason Rudolph here in a second. Not that I think he's in any jeopardy, but really the guys that everyone feels are fighting for what might be the 2 dogs, 1 bone scenario, the cliche that Mike Tomlin threw out when he was talking about Ross Cockrell, who unfortunately had a horrific injury and is not going to be playing this season. Who is he with? The Panthers now. He had a good shot at playing there too. Yeah. Unfortunate for him. And then Cody Sensabaugh, who looked like a preseason star and didn't at times tonight as well. That's going to be basically, we feel that way basically maybe with Landry Jones and Josh Dobbs. It's going to be interesting. So these guys have got to be, crossing their T's, dotting their lowercase J's, making sure they got everything to just perfection. And I think maybe Charlie Batch may have hit the nail on the head here, although he isn't going to go as far as I'm going to go with this, considering my man crush on Mr. Landry Jones, the backup of GOAT quarterback sans Nick Foles, who did not play, by the way, in this game, if you didn't get to see it, folks. But I'm getting long-winded, but just to pull this up, Landry Jones, 4 of 4. Two series, 83 yards and a touchdown, but, and this is what Charlie says. He's doing the color for the. Oh, that's right. You didn't have the Steelers feed, I don't think. So you didn't get. But I know what you're going for. Yeah. So Charlie Batch says, these guys are all competing. The same thing that I just said, and he says, but Landry didn't do anything to screw that up tonight. He still made his case, and he did with a perfect 158.3 quarterback rating. If you're not aware, folks, that is the highest score you can get. Mark it down. He's the valedictorian of the class, even though he only threw 4 passes. And that's because he threw a dart downfield to Juju Smith-Schuster when he pulled his own Big Ben impression, got the defense to jump, and just went yard.
Yeah, it was – I could hear you. I could hear you in New Jersey when that happened. As I'm watching it on my TV, I said, that's Joe. I hear Joe. And look,
it's a preseason game, and I jumped off the couch.
Yeah, it was really, it's classic Ben Roethlisberger. Get them to bite, get them to jump. They do jump off sides. You got the free play, and Landry launches the ball. And Juju, Juju does what hopefully he'll be doing all year. He high points it. He gets it. He makes a better. He positions himself better for the ball than I think the guy who was defending him was the safety from West Virginia. I can't remember his name.
Russell Douglas or Razul. No, I think Douglas. Razul. I think Douglas was playing later, but it could have been. Could have been.
Yeah, it was Razul. That was the name, and just didn't play the ball well at all. It got past him. Juju took advantage of it. Hey, 71 yards or 77 yards or how many ever yards it was.
71.
For a touchdown. Looked great. That was fantastic. It was the highlight of the first quarter.
And then Jones was done for the night, but I just had to throw that out there. Now, that's not to take anything away from Josh Dobbs. Now, Josh Dobbs comes out. He hands off. I'm expecting him to maybe throw a dart at some point here, but he sustained a pretty long drive. So what ends up happening is Philadelphia ends up answering. Now, their quarterback for much of this game was Nate Sudfeld, who actually had a 103.3 rating I'm seeing right here. I was actually quite impressed with him, even though he did throw 2 picks. He also threw 2 touchdowns, 10 of 14, 140 yards. Had a lot of poise for a guy that's essentially third string behind Wentz and Foles there. I'd be excited if I were them, that's for sure. That's a good thing to have, is good quarterback play going that deep. Dallas Goedert. their tight end. Now, what was it? 49th overall pick in the NFL draft. Probably going to turn out to be better than anything we saw from the Baltimore Ravens during the Hall of Fame game. This guy gets a 15-yard pass. He ends up making the Steelers look silly still trying to guard the tight end, even though it's very vanilla defense and it's a lot of nickel and maybe even some 3-4. That we're seeing a lot of DB stuff that they're working on in camp. So, but Goddard, he's targeted 5 times. He caught 4 of those for 66 yards and 1 TD. And then there was another big play somewhere in this game. It was after. So this is what happens. What was it? Tyler Matakevich lines up incorrectly, gets a penalty on the special teams play, and then that ended up happening twice, I think. And then Philadelphia decides, we're just going to go for 2. So they end up 8-7. Dobbs comes in, sustains an 11-play, 75-yard drive. I couldn't get the word out. 6 minutes, ends in a Fitzgerald Toussaint 3-yard run. There was a little bit of hocus pocus in there too. And then Dobbs ends up at some point here throwing a pick when he rolls out to his right and then throws diagonally across to the other side of the field, probably ill-advised for Damone Patterson, who was he's been our camp diva. He was a preseason diva this evening as well. And the only reason I'm jumping into the scoring stuff here is because we get to I can't remember Gibson's first name here, but it was a 63-yard pass. This is after Cody Sensabaugh jumped a route. He had a pick earlier. Well, he got burned on this play. Or was it him that got burned, or was it Deshaun Phillips?
Phillips.
It
was Phillips.
It was Phillips on this one. Cody had missed the tackle or something and got beat on a different play, but not as badly. This one looked really bad. This was just a straight, streak go route, I believe was what Pompiani had said or Batch had said. And I mean, the guy just outran Phillips, and it just did not look good. So you had this lopsided score as the teams are going for 2. Steelers went for 2 as 15-8, then it was 15-14 before we get the highlight of the night. But up until this point, I wasn't sure because Dobbs had thrown a pick, and then there was before the Toussaint or before they got the touchdown. Wasn't that I saw him in the pistol with who was behind him? Ridley. They bring Ridley in, and you think it's going to be short yardage, right? This is like a Marshawn Lynch almost goal line type play, and it was like a college option, and it failed miserably. I mean, the ball actually went backwards. It could have been a fumble. It was almost mishandled. The timing was off, and it lost a ton of yards. And all of a sudden, you're just like, well, I'm not so sure, that Dobbs has got a chance in this fight. There's more to that, of course.
Absolutely. I don't know what I want to say about Josh Dobbs. Here's the thing. It
is preseason, so take these words with a grain of salt. They're playing. This is like second, third, and then fourth stringers are all mixed in.
At best, yes. It's as Mike Tomlin said last year. It's JV ball at that point. This was pretty much JV ball from the get-go, other than a very couple things which I want to talk about at the beginning of the game. But Dobbs looked better than last year. That's one thing that's encouraging. He looked more comfortable. He looked better running the offense. All of those are good things. It's just how much of that is competition and how much of that is improvement. And I think it's obviously some of both. I liked the way he really did kind of control that drive. And he didn't panic. He didn't really make a lot of bad mistakes in the drive. The interception that he threw was right after the Steelers had gotten their second interception, I think, that we took the ball away and then gave it right back. Yep. But that one drive was a very nice drive. It looked good. And he, in his quarter of work or whatnot that he had, I thought he looked better and more polished. And quite honestly, he was better at, moving up in the pocket, which he was not great at last year. He just looked more comfortable. And from that standpoint, I was pleased with that.
I was too. I won't lie. They all look good because I think Mason looked about what I expected. We'll get into the second half here in a second. You bring up a good point, too, if that, as far as who's playing where. Marquise Pouncey does not play as far as offensive lineman. So you have DeCastro. B.J. Finney plays. He is to be the backup center to Marquise Pouncey, or so I would assume. He is definitely the backup guard. He is now in the starting role since Ramon Foster is injured. There's 2 of your 5 offensive linemen. Villanueva out there just a little bit, I believe. Matt Filer at right tackle because Marcus Gilbert was not out there. Mike Tomlin asked this in his press conference following the game, says he had a kid, and somebody says congratulations, and he's like, I didn't have the kid.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah. So, and then all of a sudden everybody was running with that quote and tweeting that out. It's like nobody had the information. And, that's good. I think me and Zach talked about that, and you and I have too, about privacy with the players. Good. Now everybody can give him the congratulations now. They're not going to hunt him down in the hospital for an autograph. Even though I got to talk to I could have took a picture with him. He was really cool. He talked for like a minute or two and then just went about his way. I don't think very many people mob the right tackle, but they definitely mob Alejandro Villanueva, that's for sure, and he can't hide. He cannot hide anywhere because he's so huge. But the interesting one was the center, Patrick Morris, undrafted free agent, college free agent from TCU this year. It was somebody I had my eye on. He started at center. I believe that may have had a little bit to do with, DeCastro just gets beat by Fletcher Cox.
Oh, that was brutal.
And poor Landry. And you're just waiting to hear like, oh, okay, well, it was, I don't know, Filer that missed the assignment or whatever. And you see the replay and it was just straight up DeCastro gets beat. Like he just was still sleeping. It was like the second or third play of the game. Like he just wasn't ready to play yet. The alarm clock didn't go off. So
or he didn't realize that actually was Fletcher Cox in front of him. He was like, did somebody else get his number this year? Because they wouldn't be playing him now, would they?
Yeah, that was interesting. And I'm sure there was somebody out there that was like, oh, Landry, stupid, holding on the ball for all of a second and a half.
I got to tell you this. So at late in the fourth quarter, because I'm stuck watching the Eagles broadcast out here. And late in the fourth quarter, they have Fletcher Cox and Chris Long on the sideline, and they're talking to him. And they talked to him about the start that he had to the game, and Cox says, yeah, it was good. I was glad to do the stuff that I was in practice, and, it was nice to go up against David. He's a really good player. And then he laughed. It was like,
entry.
Oh, burn. So Mr. DeCastro, if you can find that tape, you might want to watch it. Maybe it'll give you a little incentive to pay attention to the fact that it's an all-pro guy sitting in front of you, Mr. All-Pro.
Yeah. Well, Tomlin said don't pay attention to the depth chart. There was some other moving pieces. They made sure they got a core of 4. Now, we actually have the pronunciation guide for a change, and they keep calling them Chooks instead of Chucks, as I've been reading it in all of the any of the press stuff that's gone out. And even here, as I'm looking at it, the pronunciation is Chuck. Chuck Wuma Okorafor. Okorafor has never been the problem. I feel terrible that I can't get his first name right. Now, we're going to be talking about another young gentleman who was playing outside linebacker wearing number 92. We may as well say it now, or at least attempt to. Mike Tomlin calls him Ola. We called him Ola the other day. I didn't point out that Tomlin calls him Ola because his name was Ola Sunkonmi. That's his first name. Adani. So it's Ola. And he wears 92, which, if you remember, that was James Harrison's number. And if you happen to know, I'm sorry, he who shall not be named junior. And,
there you go.
Or he who shall not be named defense. It's like QB Eagles when you were playing Tecmo Super Bowl. So they, I was just giving this some thought. I may have tweeted this out myself. And I said, they haven't given 86 out, which was Hines Ward's number for the longest time. Now, 83, I don't think. We always talk about how they can't protect some numbers. There's only so many they can give out. And they didn't wait very long to just shove 92 back out there. I mean, I think that was maybe done with malice, perhaps. But Ola, you know what? He held his own tonight. So did Keon Adams. Keon Adams played a heck of a lot of snaps. He was practically, if he wasn't the starter, he was close to it with Anthony Chickalo since T.J. Watt and Bud Dupree sat. And so Ola got in there. They were mentioning him on the Steelers broadcast. As soon as they mentioned his name, he went and made the play, got the sack. It was pretty impressive. I didn't have a problem with them. But we were talking offensive line, I'm sorry. And we were talking some of the guys that shifted out and depth chart and whatnot. So Okorafor played quite a bit himself. And then I believe James Conner, who looked pretty sharp tonight as well, he went out for Fitzgerald Toussaint. You got Josh Dobbs in. Dobbs gets the ball at some point right before the end of the half. I want to say maybe about a minute left or so, if I end up finding it here, and I will. And he just throws a laser beam to one of our favorite guys, a guy, and like I said, Damone Patterson is a name that you need to start writing down. If this guy's making a case for himself, he makes an incredible grab. Everyone's going to talk about the backflip, but this is a guy who was playing FCS football in a program that is run first, even run with the quarterback first, and multiple quarterbacks. It's a program I follow very closely, my alma mater. And they got guys that don't necessarily deliver the ball. And I forgot about his yards per catch or whatever. But, I mean, it wasn't like he had a ton of receptions, maybe 600 yards, 700 yards. I mean, maybe they have a 1,000 or 2,000 yard rushers every season. You know what I mean? And heavily defense. But if you remember, Bo Pelini's the coach there. He was the former Nebraska head coach. So he got his foot in the door. He wasn't even signed after the draft. Nobody was looking at him. Went to the rookie camp. They needed some bodies in the rookie camp just so they have enough that they could practice with. Got noticed and got signed, and he's making the most of his opportunity. It looked like Antonio Brown. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to put him too high on a pedestal. It is preseason, all things considered. But Dobbs put that ball out there. That thing was moving. That's like a Michael Vick throw. It was moving so hard, so fast. I just thought it was going to sail out the back of the end zone into the stands or something.
Yeah, it was a nice throw by Dobbs. It was a great catch by Patterson. I slow your roll with that looked like AB. It didn't. It really didn't look like AB.
Well, AB would have done it with one hand against his helmet. I mean, okay, I got you.
It was that catch was maybe AB juniorish, but I will tell you that he still's got some work to do. He had a really good game. I don't want to take anything away from him because I was impressed, not having had the opportunity to go out to camp and see any of these guys. I was impressed with his game, but his route running is not as crisp as it could be. And he did not look great on a couple of his routes, one of which led to that interception. Although I think that was really more of a bad throw than it was his fault.
Ill-advised, yeah.
Yes. But, I think between him and, the fact that Rudolph – I don't want to get into Rudolph yet.
No, that's fine. The second half is a whole different animal.
Yeah, it really is. I need to bring up that there was a tweet where I know – Zach was being asked about how James Conner performed in back on backers and whether he's getting better at his pass rush pickup. No, he's not.
Yeah, that happened to Landry as well.
It was not good. Let me just say he may be looking better in the drills. Game tape doesn't seem to agree with that because I'm gonna have to say that was. The upside is James Conner looked really good on his runs. He had burst, he had speed, he was quick to the hole, he was getting nice gains. But man, yeah, he was brutal trying to pick up blitzes. That was not a pretty sight. So there is that. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard to analyze this game in any real sense because, as I said, you're talking about the third string quarterback.
Steelers
for the Eagles
won.
Playing.
Steelers won. They beat the defending Super Bowl champions.
They beat the team that was their practice squad.
Basically. Well, yeah. I mean, hey, it was practice squad versus practice squad.
It really was. What we learned is our second string quarterback is a little better than their third string quarterback.
And the third string quarterback wasn't too bad either. By the way, that Dobbs throw.
No, he wasn't.
And not to crap on Dobbs, this type of thing happens. I mean, God forbid, Landry Jones has thrown his share of interceptions in preseason games, especially against the Eagles. There was double coverage as well. There was a guy in front of Patterson and also someone right behind him. It was just, I don't know. Dobbs at first, I think, was staring down guys, maybe the first 2-3 throws, and I was happy that he protected the football up until that point, and then he goes and redeems himself. I was trying to see how many let me see. How many plays was that? Because he got the ball. It was just under 2 minutes. It was a 2-minute drill, 9 plays, 75 yards.
Yeah, it was nice.
And it was a goofy score. It's 22-14 at this point because of all the 2-point conversions missed and made.
Yeah.
And then it became the Chris Boswell show in the second half as even Fitz-Toussaint sat. Fitz-Toussaint, by the way, 7 carries, 29 yards. Connor was 4 for 25. Toussaint had ripped off a 17-yard long, and Connor almost broke free, got his shoelaces caught. That's about what I've seen in camp as well. Ridley 10 of 14, but I mean really out there with not much offensive line help. Same with Jalen Samuels, 6 for 7. Most of that was just to kill the clock toward the end. And James Summers, unfortunately, if they did have that cut down to 75, I don't know that he would be around past game 2. It just doesn't seem like he's going to have much of an opportunity to say anything with how deep the running back room looks. Patterson targeted 10 times, 6 catches, 77 yards in the touchdown. Juju had the big one for 7. It was his only catch, 71 yards, of course, in great Juju fashion. Also with the touchdown celebration. James Washington shows up, a big 35-yard catch. That was about the highlight from Rudolph that we were calling for in the preview for this game as well. But before we get into the second half, I wanted to talk to some folks about all the wonderful things that are going on this fall. That would be if you're headed down to Jacksonville, Florida, not only for the Steelers game, because they're doing this for several games, but I would like to think that 99% of the people listening to this are interested in at least the Pittsburgh Steelers. But maybe you're around for some other reason. You like football, and you just happen to be around Jacksonville, Florida when they have a home game there, and you'd like to see them beat some other team that you don't like, or you have family and friends or something in the area. That's going on for most of these games as well. It's their big pregame tailgate party, 5 hours of all-you-can-eat food, open bar. There's a DJ. There's going to be celebrities. They're going to have guest players from both not only the Jaguars but also the Steelers here. It's going to be a really big deal. And right now this is set to be a Sunday night football game. So, of course, most of these tailgate lots open 5 hours ahead of time, so you get the maximum effect and then get to just head right over to short walk over to the stadium and hopefully remember what's going on for the game if it's an open bar. But aside from that, I mean, you just have to pack your jersey. It's great weather. Pack the shorts. You may need pants for the way home, since that's right around Thanksgiving time. Goofy weather. It might be nice in Western Pennsylvania. 60s. We'd still be wearing shorts. It might be very cold. I don't know. But regardless, you only need your terrible towel and a jersey and whatnot. They take care of everything else. It's a very small nominal fee, and you don't have to worry about it. I mean, when you're already talking about, spending $10 on a beer in the stadium and however much for food, why not? Why not do this? And you could get 20% off on the ticket as well if you use the promo code SteelCity when you check out. So for more information on that, go to steelcityunderground.com/Jaguars tailgate. All the information's there, including this promo code, plus all the links so you could go and purchase yourself a pregame tailgate party ticket courtesy of our friends from GTE Game Day Tailgate Experience. A very nice sponsor to have. We'll be talking that up a little bit too. I'm excited. I can't wait to go down there myself and check this out because I'm hoping by that time it's still nice enough maybe to jump in the pool in the stadium. That would be something. I want to check that out.
Pretty cool. Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
That would be nice. So not only the second half of our podcast, but the second half of the game may be very boring, or maybe as boring as the game.
No, it won't. But let me say, before we move on, there's one other bone I got to pick with the first half.
Oh, go for it.
And that is how what did the third string quarterback do to Tyler Matakevich?
Did I miss something?
Tyler Matakevich comes off the edge. He's got a open route to Sunfeld or whatever the hell his name is.
Oh,
and he looked like Matakevich made that quarterback look like Michael Vick back there. Just faked poor Tyler right out of his shoes. Like I think. I know we've been hearing a lot about how much the Steelers love Tyler Matakevich. I really hope John Bostic is better than we hoped.
Oh, we did. You know what? And quietly we didn't say much, but I mean he shot out of a cannon and had like 3 or 4 tackles, and then I guess he missed one. And I wasn't paying too close of attention to some of these things. It sucks because you don't get replays on half of these plays. The camera angles aren't all that great. You don't have the normal like NFL quality for this stuff. So as you're trying to watch it and pick out people, it was even difficult for me to notice, Morris is out there as the center. It was probably like the second or third series by the time I noticed that, and I deciphered there was no way he didn't start at center, and look it up, and it's like, yeah, he started at center, and it was just like, you can't pick up some of these numbers, and then you have, Bob Pompiani and Charlie Batch. They're worse than we are when it comes to like pointing out who's wearing what numbers and whatnot, and even Jamar Summers, who's on the defensive side wearing 30, which is James Conner's number, as we all know, and he's on offense. There's a lot of double numbers. We talked about that too heading into this. Don't blink. Conner's not playing defense. It's just, and then you got all the guys on defense that already changed their numbers, and it's a mess. It's a mess. I know it's a mess for us to keep track of, but it's even worse like when they catch like the wrong number for this or that. I even check like the stats just to make sure that certain guys were doing certain things, like Jordan Berry was punting and not Matt Wiley or something like that. So, second half definitely. John Bostic, sorry. I'm fine with him. He seems to have instincts, awareness, and he's certainly not Sean Spence as far as the speed.
Absolutely.
So
I agree with that.
I'll take it.
Look, I was, again, it's hard to judge because most of the starters didn't play. And when you look at like who had tackles, like Matakevich led the team in tackles. He had 4 tackles. Nate Burhay had 3. See, I used the pronunciation guide there.
Oh, that's good. You found it after you said it wrong. That's the way it works.
I was disturbed by the ease of running that the Eagles seemed to be able to do early on. But it's a work in progress. So I'm and it's a work in progress without the top tier guys in. So I'm kind of taking it a little easy. But I was pleased with the fact that other than the tight end, it looked like the other receivers were covered.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? That's a fantastic point. Other than being able to pick out the Sean Phillips or Cody Sensabaugh in certain cases, for better or worse, Cam Sutton gets that other interception. By the way,
yeah.
But who had a very quiet night? And we talk about when it's quiet with the corners, there was something going on, and it's usually good. Brian Allen.
Yeah.
He was out there, and you would not know it. He had to have been doing his job well, or either Sudfeld or Callahan couldn't find whoever he was covering or leaving open. That would be the only other scenario there. Second half, I had my eyes more on like Ola, Keon Adams, was pleasantly surprised with them. I saw Dan McCullers try and get some hustle in there and to try and chase down whoever the quarterback was in the game at that point, which was in slow motion. But still, I love seeing it because, that was probably about his top speed. And that's nothing against him. He's a giant human. It takes a lot to get that in motion, man. I mean, just think how some of us are older and can't be moving. Just throw an extra 100 or 200 pounds on yourself and put another 12 inches of height, and that'll be the shade tree, Dan McCullers. I mean, it was tough to point out a whole lot of other things. I mean, we're excited to see Mason Rudolph, but the fact of the matter is, at least he had James Washington out there. But I mean, Damone Patterson was even in as the twos basically on this. Hunter was kind of in and out real quick. Hay-Bay was in out real quick. I don't even know that Hay-Bay. I know he was out there, but he didn't even get targeted at all.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, there was just really, it was like Tevin Jones, Trey Griffey. These are the guys that Rudolph was paired up there with. And Christian Scotland Williamson is one of his tight ends. He didn't even have Xavier Grimble out there with him. Of course, Vance McDonald sat. Jesse was in for a spell with Landry Jones. I mean, it's tough. It's tough working with that, and he's mixing and matching in practices and training camp too, where he may get the throw to like Juju Smith-Schuster, and he doesn't have Juju out there. He does have a rapport with Washington, and we saw that on the long connection.
Yeah, I thought he looked comfortable. Again, he moved around in the pocket a little bit. He was at times running constantly because whatever offensive line was in at that point in time was more than a bit porous. I think he fumbled the ball, but we recovered it at one point late in the game. But overall, I thought he looked okay. It didn't, again, you take it with a bit of a grain of salt because of the quality of the competition he's playing against, as well as the quality of the guys he is currently playing with late in the second half. But it was a decent start. I mean, 7-12, something like that for over 100 yards. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember seeing like was it him or was it Dobbs that threw I think it was Dobbs that threw the pass that really, had it been on target, would have been a pick six. He was throwing, I don't remember who. Somebody tried to jump that route. I remember it, and I think that might have been Dobbs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think Rudolph really threw a horrible pass. So that's encouraging. We'll see what happens as these games progress, see if he moves up. And, I mean, that's the thing that we talked about prior to the game to really watch is the guys who may have stood out in the second half, or the guys who even may have stood out in the first half of this particular game. Let's see what happens when they move up a ranking, a weight belt or a weight class. Let's see what happens when that's the case. Ola, I was trying to watch Ola a lot, and of course, because I'm dealing with the Eagles coverage, and they're paying really no attention to the Steelers at all.
No.
I was glad to see that Scotland Williams got in and got a catch for the 5 yards that offset the 5 yards he gave up on his offsides or false start penalty. But it was nice that he was able to get into the game and get a catch under his belt. I hope nothing for the best for that kid. I think it's an interesting program that he's a part of to bring these other foreign guys over. But it's a lower quality of competition. So if they move up, and when I bring up Ola, I tell you, I was watching him late in the game, and he got a lot of snaps. But there were a couple of series where I think he's going to get in a little bit of Mike Tomlin's doghouse because he kind of just looked like he gave up on a couple plays. And that bothered me. But at the same time, I think, look, he got a lot of time in. So
could be gassed.
He could have been gassed by the fourth quarter. Because it was late. It was late in the game. The game was not in question anymore. And it just was a couple of rushes where it just kind of looked like he was like, yeah.
Well, that football shape thing, it's no joke, the football shape deal. And, it's still warm out there, even in Philadelphia, not much different weather than those of us that are, even where you're at in Jersey. I'm in Northeast Ohio, Western Pennsylvania, splitting my time, and I'll tell you, it's been humid all week. So, I mean, it drains you as it is when you're doing these practices and whatnot.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was a scorcher over the weekend, too. So, but you know what? The few things, talking about some things that stood out, I thought Mason, for the most part, I was very happy with his ball protection. He was fairly elusive. And that third down play where he tried to find Patterson, timing's a little better there. Maybe that would have been another touchdown catch for Damone, because Rudolph, he scanned the field and came up with that. That's the type of stuff Ben was doing when he was younger. And Ben wasn't the most accurate, and he wasn't the way Ben is now. He grew into that, so that's very encouraging. Another one too that most people won't pick out is that Tomlin decided to go for it on fourth down, puts Jalen Samuels in there, and guess what? He gets the job done in the short yardage. They always said, like, Terrell Watson, the nightmare last year, that he made the roster just because he never lost yards. I don't even know that he lost yards in the regular season. They would only put him in for that 1 yard, 2 yard play that they needed, and the guy always got it done. Samuels is going to do that and then some. So those things really stood out to me, as opposed to just the splash plays on their own. It was tough to really see a whole lot defensively, because it's just it's such a haphazard mismatch of just all kinds of moving parts. At one point, even I think Bostic and Tyler Matakevich were both the inside linebackers there. You throw a guy out there like LJ Ford, who actually has like quite a bit of playing experience in the NFL, and he's playing out there with like six stringers. It's bizarre at times, and it's very hard to. Let's put it this way. If we were working for Pro Football Focus, it would be almost impossible to give any grades and know, well, this was so-and-so's assignment and this is so-and-so's this and that, because it's just it could be almost an organized circus at times. Yeah,
I was encouraged by the fact that the Steelers, I think they got 8 penalties for 42 yards. They didn't win the penalty battle because the Eagles had 11 for 74, and the Eagles got tagged twice with the new helmet rule penalties. And I was good to see that the Steelers didn't get any of those, because those are going to be really costly as the season goes on. So hopefully they can, that's a sign of them focusing on the changes that are necessary for that rule, and they can keep that focus up. But it was encouraging that they didn't. It didn't appear to me that they had the same level of disorganization that they did sometimes last year. The communication overall seemed better. And, I think that all translates into fewer penalties.
Yeah, and just one other thing, too, I forgot about was Cam Sutton also smacking the ball, I believe, out of Sudfeld's hand at one point. It ended up going out of bounds, but let me tell you, I think the kid's he's got splash play written all over him, too. It's so promising. I just got done writing some stuff that's actually, more than likely going to drop next week, as we're still covering this game and some post-game, and then, of course, I'll be at camp over the weekend and have some stuff then, too, but I was doing some research, and just it's so exciting to just see the depth at almost every position. And I think the one that's going to be really tough, and I was talking with my cousin back and forth during this game, and he was talking about Fitzgerald Toussaint, and he said, oh, it might be down to him and Samuels. I said, you know what, I really don't think so. They would have to keep an awful lot of running backs on the rosters. Samuels is a rookie. Samuels has upside. They know who Toussaint is. I mean, he's been on the practice squad. He's been on and off the 53. It's unfortunate because he's in fantastic shape. He may end up somewhere. I don't think he could beat out Stephen Ridley, who not only, as mentioned on the broadcast, lost weight, but you see, I said, okay, 10 for 14, but he made a lot of plays in space. This is what he did when he was with the Patriots. He was a guy who could also catch the ball in space and create. He had a 17-yard long. He caught 3 of 4 balls for 45 yards. Hello, if you're going to be replacing Le'Veon Bell in another year, now, I mean, Ridley's not young. He's like 28. But still, he's got a couple years left in the NFL. He doesn't have a whole lot of tread on his tires. He may be like D'Angelo and play until he's like 32 or 33 for all we know, in a backup capacity role as a veteran leader. And, Jalen Samuels can obviously catch the ball too. Connor's been showing better hands. I don't know if Toussaint's got that same kind of thing with him where he's as versatile. So that's aside from the quarterbacks we're talking about and all these guys that are the logjam of guys that are playing corner, you got to look at the running backs too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think it's very likely Toussaint could find himself being the odd man out. I mean, I think they're just stocked. I mean, Le'Veon Bell, once he signs his offer sheet, is obviously there. James Conner's not going anywhere. And, they just invested a pick in Jalen Samuels. It's very unlikely that they're going to try and let him – they're not going to let him go, and it'd be tough for him to get snuck onto the practice squad. I think he probably is too interesting to other teams to do that, which, if they keep 4 – that means it's either Stephen Ridley or Fitzgerald Toussaint. Now, while he made some nice plays tonight and he looked good a couple times, I think you're right. They know who Fitz Toussaint is. And does he offer the same versatility that Stephen Ridley does? He certainly doesn't offer the same kind of veteran leadership. Not that he's a bad guy or doesn't have leadership capabilities, but, he's been a perennial, practice squad or backup player, third string kind of guy. Whereas Stephen Ridley's at least been on the front lines for a period of time. So I kind of agree with you. I think it's unfortunate because I think, he's looked good so far, but has he looked better than these other guys? That's really the question.
I don't think so. And he's got a spot because of Bell right now, which I've got 3 things I really need to talk about here. 2 are preseason, and 1 is just to get off my chest. And I know I shared it with you as we're up against it. But just the quick shots here. Andy Dalton being Andy Dalton, for some reason playing in the first preseason game, throws a pick 6 against the Bears. Nothing more Andy Dalton than that. Nothing more Marvin Lewis than putting his multi-million-dollar starting quarterback, who's only got Matt Barkley as a backup, out there in week 1. Tip of the cap to you, Marvin. Way to go, buddy. I hope you get a coaching extension.
love those kitty cats.
Jeez. So number 2, continuing in the AFC North, the Cleveland Browns continue their preseason win streak. They went 4-0 last year, if you had forgotten. You probably did, because they went 0-16 when the games really counted. But now they make that 5. So a lot of people excited. Baker Mayfield, David Njoku doing good things. I couldn't catch all of it because due to stupid blackout rules and regional NFL garbage, you couldn't stream the game on like the tablet or the laptop or anything like that. And I don't even deal with the other streams because I'm too busy twittering and tweeting and whatever the thing is. And, of course, watching the Steelers and dealing with so many other things, too. The last is what you mentioned about Le'Veon Bell. If Le'Veon Bell were here, Le'Veon Bell, when he signs his franchise tag. Guess what the franchise tag is? It's a contract.
Yes.
He has not signed it yet. Therefore, he is not under contract. Therefore, unlike all of the other players that are under contract, they are required by said contract to be at training camp or be fined. Le'Veon Bell, who has not signed his contract and therefore is not under contract, but because of the way the franchise tag works, he can't just go sign with anybody else. It isn't free agency. Somebody else said something about, well, they need to do something with Bell. Why are they talking to Chris Boswell? The deadline has passed. It can't do anything else with Bell, whether they wanted to or not. And until he signs, he's not bound to any terms or anything where he has to show up. He could just not sign it and not get paid and sit off the whole season if he wants, because he would not be under contract. But he just can't go sign with anybody else. The Steelers cannot trade him. So if you see, should he be traded for Khalil Mack? He can't be traded for a bag of peanuts right now. He is not under contract. He is not a tangible item of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He is not on their roster. He is not somebody that can be moved like a chess piece. So when you say that second-rate bloggers got it wrong and just want to hate on Le'Veon Bell, I take a little personal. I hate being called a blogger. So,
well,
but it's like you got it completely wrong. The franchise tag does not allow you to sit out of training camp. It is not a perk. It is something
absolutely not.
It is when these guys sit out, it is a negotiating tactic. I'll put it that way, or method. It's one of the few recourses they have to try and get what they feel they deserve, rightfully so or not. So just wanted to clear up some misconceptions.
Yeah, let's be clear. If Le'Veon Bell had signed his franchise tag offer the moment he got it, he would have to be at training camp right now. That's the way it works. It's not your franchise tag, therefore you get to sit out. You're absolutely right. I read, we talked about this and I read what was written and it was absurd and ridiculous. But be that what it may be. I understand that there are people who want to defend Le'Veon Bell, and there are other people who absolutely want nothing to do with him anymore. He is not a Pittsburgh Steeler right this moment. However, he will be no other team's player this year other than Pittsburgh. If he plays this year, he'll be a Steeler. After this year, probably not, but we'll see.
I know most people don't follow that because they probably, I don't know how, some people probably deal with contracts in their line of work and some people don't. And that's just, that's how it works. There's no obligation, there's no terms or anything like that if it's not signed. I don't want to make them sound like property or something like that, but I don't know any other. I'm thinking of the game Monopoly right now, and I'm just thinking about, like the colored card pieces, and, you don't have that because it's not, you can't put that. It's still in the bank. The banker has that. The banker can't give it to anybody else. It's kind of got a hold for you, but you just can't put that with Boardwalk and Park Place and the other things that are the killer bees there. It doesn't work that way, and therefore you cannot trade it to another player playing the game to try and get, I don't know, all of like Pennsylvania Avenue and all those things too. It does not work that way. Not under contract. So we retracted some things and got those right because we were tired then. We're tired now. We're going to leave it be. We still got the helmet-worthy thing going. A few of those have been coming in. I actually sent out an email. I usually, if you're not on the newsletter, you could sign up at the bottom of any page of our website. If you go even just to the podcast page, the show notes, any of them, there's a box. You could sign up for the email. I shot out a special email with all the different things that are going on. We got some more exciting things coming soon. Lots of exciting things. And I'm excited about that. And I was excited to have you join me once again, Brian.
I'm always excited to be here, even if I'm half asleep.
Yes, and hopefully we didn't put any of Yins to sleep. We actually talked 50-some minutes about the preseason, but hopefully it made your day brighter. I know it made mine better, and I have a smile on my face. And other than that, I'll be ready for the following week. We'll, I guess, talk a little bit more about camp, which is about to come to a close. And then they make a trip to Titletown to play the Green Bay Packers. I don't know what that will entail. Probably a lot of the guys that we saw when Aaron Rodgers was hurt last year will be the guys playing this time. Or DeShone Kizer, get to see him again too. But we'll talk about that next week. Until then, my name's Joe. His name's Brian. Be safe, be good. We'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.